welcome back to another episode of Just Jossing Around. My guest today, I just met him, guys. It's Collin Chamberlin.
Yeah. Is there I feel like I should have some sort of sound,
Yeah.
one of those boards, like a
Yes.
DJ would have. Maybe I would hit that. Yeah.
And then
Like a
like
ray gun.
confetti.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So I actually feel like I have seen you before. Have you played at the Omaha Funny Bone maybe 3 years ago?
I think there was a time in my life where I might have had a residency at the Omaha Funny Bone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I would
swear I've
yeah.
seen you.
Yeah, I used to come. I It's been a while since I've been back, but probably the last time I was there about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
I might have been with Pete Lee, um,
Okay. Okay.
and I've been there with everybody. I love that club. I
Yeah.
used to go there. I used to go there twice a year. I think I was there more than I was home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great club.
I remember one of the first times me going there. I do remember you. I don't know why. I feel like I saw you. Did you open for Dusty Slay or anything like that? Is
I
this where you?
did.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did. I worked with
Yeah.
Dusty Slade there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the show I was at. But yeah, I remember. And then I think I saw maybe like your account was recommended to me on Instagram or something, and I was like, I feel like I've seen him before, and I have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
full circle.
Great, hub for comedy
It's
in
so good.
the Midwest, yeah.
Like
Truly one of the last great, like, funny bone, 2 drink minimum comedy clubs, you know? It seems like an outdated thing, but it's working there.
oh, that's awesome. Are you gonna come back to the Funny Bone?
I hope so. I love I have such a, spot in my heart for that club because it was the first I think it was one of the first Funny Bones I'd ever worked,
Yeah.
and I was flying in. I lived in Pittsburgh at the time, and I was flying in from
Mhm.
Pittsburgh in February, and I got stuck at the Minneapolis airport for about 16
Yikes.
hours, and I missed the first night of shows, and I
Oh,
was, calling. I'd never I didn't know. I was so green in the business that I was like, they probably will fire me when I get there,
yeah.
so I'll just come home. So I remember calling my dad and being like, "I think I just gotta book a ticket home." He's like, "Have you talked to anyone at the club?" And I was like, "Nah." He's like, "Well, call them." So I called Colleen
Yeah.
at the club and Daisy, and they're like, "Just get here whenever you get here, no big deal." And I'll never forget. So I was so distraught. I got into Omaha at like 2 a.m., missed the first night of shows. And at this time, you make whatever you're paying for your flight.
Yeah.
You have to come up with the if it's the $450 beforehand, and
Yeah.
then go get that
Yeah.
$500 and
Real.
time your meals correctly. So you're
Yep.
like, if I eat the free continental breakfast that ends at 11, if I eat it at 10:55, I won't have to eat dinner until I get to the club.
Correct.
So every dollar counted, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm gonna lose money. And I'll never forget, Colleen paid me for the shows that I'd missed. She was like, "It's
Wow.
not your fault." And every time we've been back there, she's taking care of me. She is Colleen and Daisy and the staff there are the best. I mean, I have never gone in there and had a bad weekend. It's
Yeah.
always been fun, and it's just a traditional
Yeah.
smelling, like when you walk
Yes.
into the
Yes.
Funny Bone, it stinks like comedy.
Yes.
It smells like stale
Oh my
drinks and
gosh.
tortilla chips, and it smells like comedy. But I heard they're changing locations, so I hope
They
they bring the
are.
essence.
They are.
Yeah.
I was literally writing down "stinks like comedy." I'm like, that's the name of the episode.
Stinks like comedy. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so
Because
good.
comedy, it has a smell, it has a
Yeah.
taste, it has,
Just
yeah.
yeah, I love that so much. That's so good to hear. I love when comics, like, from out of town or whatever, they just have good things to say. Even, like, Nate Bargatze came and did, like, our arena here, CHI, and he gave
Mhm.
Colleen the shout out at the arena, and it's just so cool to see, like, Funny Bone get love no matter, or at least our Funny Bone
Yeah.
specifically get love.
Well, it's not all. It's not all.
It's not all
And it's not all, but that's how great it is that, it is a chain, and
Mhm.
sometimes chain things are not always great. But
Yep.
Colleen and the staff and Daisy there are so good. I mean, everybody that I talked to who's played that club is like, it's the best. They're the best.
Yeah.
There's a couple things given. in this business, I feel like. And if you go to the Omaha Funny Bone, at least twice, Colleen will take you to breakfast and
Oh,
tell you stories about, these Jeff Foxworthy and Larry, and you'll be like, you're like a little kid. You're like, this
yeah,
is so cool. She's like this comedy thesaurus,
yeah,
or she just knows everything. She's like a history book. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
I love that. That's so awesome. I do want to say quickly though. So I saw this on your website, and you kind of mentioned it here. You grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh,
Nice.
started comedy in
Cute.
Pittsburgh, and then moved to New York. Yeah,
Sick. Nice. Where in
yeah.
Pittsburgh? Or just
I
like
grew
actually?
No, I grew up. So everybody from Pittsburgh says they're from Pittsburgh, but nobody's actually from
No
Pittsburgh.
one's
You
from
know what I
Pittsburgh.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. There's like this club in Michigan, Mark Ridley's, which is in Royal Oak, Michigan, and people are like, "Oh, it's in Detroit," and then you're like, "This 2-hour drive from Detroit.
Yeah.
It's not even close to Detroit."
Yeah.
But no, I grew up like 20 minutes outside of the city. I
Nice.
grew up near everybody. Everything in Pittsburgh is near something. You
Yeah.
don't really have a town. You just go. I grew up near the airport, or I grew
Yeah.
up
Yeah. Yeah.
near whatever. So I kind of grew up near the airport, and started comedy there. At
Nice.
they still have an improv there. So
Yeah. I grew up in Cannonsburg, and my
oh
family
my
is.
god,
Yeah. I like. And
wait.
my.
I feel like you know what? I feel like we have met because I feel like
I
I've
don't
heard this on the road. Like I feel like we talked about this or something.
No, there's no way. I've never done comedy in Pittsburgh. I grew up
But
there.
you were in Omaha.
Yeah, but I don't
I
think we
feel like
talked.
all right, so go ahead. Sorry. So
I know.
Canonsburg.
I was just gonna say my aunt, she like was a server at like the improv there, and she loved it so much. And whenever I started doing comedy in Omaha, and she was like, "Come to the improv," and I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. But like my family in McKeesport, but yeah, I love it down there.
Oh my god, that's
Cool.
crazy. Canonsburg
Yeah,
is where
yeah,
you're from originally.
yeah. Sarah's Candies. You said we were
Sarah's
all.
Candies, of course. Sarah's Candies. How could you not give them a shout out? Yeah,
Yes. That's so
amazing.
I have this which I've had this anxiety of like, going back. I want to go back to Pittsburgh. I want to like try doing some stand up there. But I have the anxiety because of like that's where my family's from of like I can't suck in Pittsburgh. Like I need to like have this. I don't know. I feel like Pittsburgh crowds stress me out. And maybe it's just cuz I'm associating them with my family.
Probably. It's
Yeah.
probably the connection. I think they're
Yeah.
just like everyone else,
Mm, I'll
I
take your word
think
for it.
blue collar towns, similar to an
Yeah.
Omaha, similar these Rust Belt towns,
Mhm.
Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I think they're great cities to come up in, similar to like an Omaha, because everybody there has a limited amount of resources and time and money.
Yeah.
And when they come to a show and they give you money, there is a lot of pressure because
There is.
this is it. Like
Yeah.
this very well may be the only thing that the couple in the front row does this month, And they
Yeah.
circled it on a calendar, on a refrigerator. It's on a dry erase board. The tickets were purchased. So
Yes.
there's a lot of so you really have to deliver. Where it's like I feel like and some of the coastal cities and stuff, the bigger cities, it's like people walk in and out of shows like it's nothing.
Mhm.
You
Sure.
know, you go to the improv, you go to the Funny Bone in Omaha. If you
Yeah.
go to the Funny Bone in Omaha, there's
Yeah.
a 99% chance you called a babysitter.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a lot of effort.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So you
lot.
gotta be good.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't. Have you performed in front of your family before or no?
Not my family. I come from a military family. We're a little bit spread out, but like my family from Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, they've never seen me do stand up. But I definitely have ambitions of going out there. I follow the comedy scene Facebook page for
I
Pittsburgh.
love that. I love that.
But I wanted to ask you, so you started in Pittsburgh how long ago?
Um, that's a good question. I started when I was just wrapping up college, my second to last year of college.
Mhm.
I think I think I started about 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I'm 31 and I started when I was 20. So yeah, about 11 going on 12 years now.
Nice.
But So I started whatever 11 years ago from this year is about the year that I started. 2014,
Yeah, something like that,
something
or
like
13
that.
maybe?
13, yeah,
Yeah.
2013. I was in college and I took a comedy
Mm.
class. My dad actually signed me up for it and then took it with me, which was
Really?
you talk about the pressure of performing
That's
in front of your family when you come home. I did an 8-week comedy class sitting next to my dad. So
Wow, that's so crazy. Did you guys have to perform? You guys had to perform at the end of it?
we performed at the end of it and we treated, the class had they would do like an open mic where it was just you and the 10 people in the class and you get up and you do your
Yeah.
few minutes and you do writing exercises. But at the end of it, yeah, we did perform.
Wow, in front of your dad. Yeah, that is super
And he
intimidating.
was also performed, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah.
like, and he had a little bit of a show business background. Like he actually used to do stand up a long, long time ago.
Really?
So he was just sort of doing it, I think, for the fun of it. But we had like a class show because
Yeah.
all these things they have to make you feel like you're actually getting your money's worth when in reality they're just telling you to go to open mics for $400,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay. And then you graduate from this class and you're like, am
Yeah.
I famous? And you're not. But yeah, we did a class show and they award a class clown. It's a
That's
whole
crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing so you feel like you're really doing something.
I love that. So, do you remember what your first jokes were about?
Absolutely. I have a video somewhere, but unfortunately, but I talked a lot about I talked about McDonald's, really edgy stuff.
Classic,
McDonald's
classic.
being overweight. I talked, yeah, it was a lot of, yeah, like I think I had a joke where because I was a little bigger than I am now, but I was like, some people look at big guys and they're like, "Oh, he's strong," or he's cuddly. Everybody looks at me and just says he's moist, and I think that was like one of the first jokes. And it's a terrible. There's really no joke. There's no humor in it.
I
But
think just the word moist itself, that might get
I
people.
was hinging the
Yeah,
entire joke on one word. Of the word moist to get a
yeah,
reaction.
yeah.
And yeah, and then it was like I talked about McDonald's had these things called mighty kids meals
Wow.
and what makes them mighty, you know what I mean? It's just more food. Like it was so stupid. But and I will say dressed ridiculously at the time. Like
Define
for the
ridiculous.
longest time I wore shorts on stage and then someone pulled me aside thankfully. We're like, put on some pants, you look ridiculous. And then but I think for the show I wore like American Eagle like faded jeans and
Mhm.
like slip on boat shoes, like Hey Dudes, whatever the Hey Dudes at the
Yeah,
time were,
yeah.
and a ball. I mean, it's kind of similar to I'm dressed now, but I'm not performing. You know what I mean? Like I
Sure.
was like I looked like a dad on vacation in Ocean City, you
Yeah,
know. Um,
that's
and
not
I
bad.
was performing for my cousins,
I love
But
that.
yeah,
That's so good. So when did you went from Pittsburgh to New York though? That's where you're at now.
I'm in New York. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice. When did that
yeah.
happen?
That happened. It was really good timing. Me and one of my best friends, who's a comic, we moved from Pittsburgh to New York September of 2019.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you remember what happened like 6 months later,
Oh, yeah. No,
but
I might have an idea what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. So it was really perfect because we literally, I mean, when I'm telling you, like, I packed my dad's um SUV with everything that I owned and there was still room in the car, and like my buddy came up the next week into this apartment. We had a two-bedroom apartment with three guys,
Mhm.
grown
Oh,
men.
that's
My
crazy.
best friend slept on a futon that we asked them to keep in the apartment from the previous tenants.
Brave.
Yeah. And I will never forget. I moved, and then I had to go right back to Pittsburgh because I had a gig, and I flew. The day I left New York for the first time after moving in, as I was leaving, our apartment building caught on fire, and
So
I left
great.
with a suitcase as the um, New York Fire Department was running up the stairs. And the day I got back, my friend picked me up and he literally just had like a bag of clothes and a PlayStation in his back seat. I was like, "Yeah, now I'm here too." And we
Wow.
treated it like we moved into college. And
Yeah.
then the world shut down 6 months later.
Damn, that's so insane. That's so
Yeah,
hectic.
it was insane.
Were you like doing were you considered like full time like with stand up, or were you also kind of like side hustling as well?
I thought I was full time, and then I moved here, and then I was
Like,
quickly was like, I need to make some money.
yeah,
So we actually, me and my buddy, we both started working at this temp agency,
love.
and we worked in like we did like janitorial work at a school in Brooklyn together. We did
It's
we
like so
worked for this.
sitcom. I just kind of love.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. We did, I'm trying to think some of the weirdest things we did. We do I helped some people move, you
Yeah,
know. I did, we worked at this company, this real estate company. They would bring us in as temps to, go through files and, like, organize their file cabinets and stuff,
that's yeah,
which was weird. Like, we just had access to, like, all these people's personal information and, like, we're trusted to like sort it and we didn't. I mean, we were so bad at these jobs, because and there were other comics that worked there, and they were just like, yeah, as long as like if I get fired, I'll just go get another temp job. There's a
exactly.
million temp jobs.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa.
um, yeah, it was like everything you would expect your live moving to New York for
Yeah.
to be in entertainment was like.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that sounds so stressful, but obviously you're making it work. You're killing it.
I
Um,
appreciate that. I don't
yeah.
know. I think everybody's just every time I talk to comics, I'm like, "How are you?" And they're like, "I'm okay." And it sounds like it's like they just like were rescued from a desert island. Like, did you ever see the movie Captain Phillips, where
I
Tom where they take over the boat? There's a scene where they rescue Captain Phillips right after they kill the Somali pirates,
yeah.
and they're kind of talking, and Captain Phillips is just like, uh-huh, and that's how every comic that I know is on a day-to-day basis when you ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
They all look like they were just rescued from a boat that was taken over by Somali pirates. That's sort of their vibe. It's just like
Yeah.
I'm sort of just masking a lot of trauma right now.
Yeah.
So
That's so that's is that what you're saying? That's your energy right now? You're just
that's every
going.
I think yeah, I think everybody that I know that I surround myself with is just like, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. I'm doing my best, and we're all just panicked about everything
Well,
always.
it's also like, I mean, I've had this conversation with other comics as well, but it's just like I feel like nowadays it's like you can't it's not as you're not just getting up on stage. It's that you have to manage. You have to have like five different skill sets like social media, you have to be tech savvy in order to like actually have a career and like keep it afloat. You have to have a good network. Like it's more than
Yeah,
just getting up on stage. It's
you
exhausting.
nailed it. I mean, it is a full-time thing, and like everybody that I know that's in comedy that I'm friends with, we all got into comedy because we didn't like doing other things,
Yeah.
right? So it's like we
Yeah.
got into comedy because we
Yeah.
didn't want to sit in front of a computer. We didn't want to
Mhm.
have to, type and do these things. And it's like
Yeah.
now the majority of our days is sitting in front of a computer,
Yes, yes,
editing,
literally.
clipping, combing through stuff. It's there's a full-time thing outside of the actual the
Mhm.
stand up is now such a tiny part of it, and it
Exactly.
shows.
Yeah.
And a lot of people it shows. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how little time is actually about stage time right now, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So
I do wanna congratulate you. Just did you just come out with your, dry bar special?
it
Is that
came
recent?
out. Yep, I just came out last week or
Nice.
whatever.
Congrats.
Yeah. So it's I feel like there's it's very rare that you put something out and you're like, I liked it, but like I
Mhm,
am proud of it. I think it was over a year ago that we shot it,
mhm.
so it's a little weird to see, but I thought I was very happy with how it turned out, and it's something that because a lot of this stuff is really not for you; it's for other people to be like, "That's cool," and
Yeah.
it's nice that like my parents or my dad can be like, Colin did a dry bar, and at least some of the
Yeah.
people that he knows what that is.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
the other guys on his over 40 hockey team have heard of dry bar comedy, and they can I'll be like, "Oh, okay. We just thought he was like dead."
Yeah.
Um, you
It's
know,
cool to see
so
proof of work.
proof of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime I do anything of note, I try to document it
Yes.
and give some kind of copy to my family so that they can say
Uh-huh.
this is real. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I have posters. I've given my dad, my sister's posters.
Yeah.
Set list, whatever. It's like from a big show, a picture. Take
That's
it,
so good.
put
It's
it up. It
important.
looks, yeah. Well, when you go now though to my dad's house, it looks like I might have been killed or something because it's like I've made a little shrine of my
Yeah.
accomplishments, and it's like you're like, was he killed on prom night?
That Okay.
So
I wanna bring that up. That was one of the things I saw in your bio. Um, I think, is it like a lead into a joke? It's something that I saw that was like, "Ask him how he ruined prom night."
oh yeah, okay. So this is some usually this comes up. Uh, it's like one of those stories of like when you talk about your worst gigs. That's like it's my one of my top
Mhm,
three stories. So I had just started comedy. I think I've been doing comedy like maybe 6 months to a year, and you don't really know anything
mhm.
about anything when you start. And so a friend of my dad's called me and it was like, "Hey, I hear you're doing stand up comedy." And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And he's like, "I want to book you for a gig." I'm like, "All right, let's go." And he's like, "What's your rate?" And I didn't even understand what that meant.
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And he was like, "How much do you charge?" And all I knew is that when I would host at the Improv, I got $50 a set. That's all, and I did 10 minutes. So I said, "The Improv pays me $50 a set. How does that
Yeah.
sound?" And he was like, "That's amazing."
That's
Yeah, he
so
was like,
important.
"That's I cannot believe how cheap this is gonna be." Like the budget
Yeah.
was, it's insane. Um, so he goes, "It's my daughter's senior prom, and I want you to perform, but there's like some other details, but I'll share them with you as we get closer. Here's the time, here's the place you have to be." So he gives me a location and a time, and like I go, and it's not like a school. It's called Phipps Conservatory. It's in Pittsburgh, and
Okay.
it's basically a big botanical garden and like greenhouse where a lot
Mhm.
of people go to like get photos for their wedding,
Yeah.
or after their wedding or a graduation. And he had called me on the way there. He's like, "Hey, they're like my daughter's getting ready. The plan is that we're gonna show up there. They're getting her and her six friends are getting their pictures taken here, and I want you to like follow us around and like tell jokes." And
No!
I'm like, "Wait, what's up? Like, there's not like a stage, there's not a microphone, there's not really a set thing." So I'm like kind of too far in now. I don't have
Yeah.
the courage to say this is a bad idea. I
Yeah.
also it's $50. It's like just keep the $50. Like
Yeah.
what I should have did was turned around and never spoken to this guy again. But I'm sitting outside of this place and this big black Escalade pulls up and he gets out and he's in a tuxedo, this guy, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, my daughter and her friends are in the car. They're gonna come out shortly." He goes, "They have no idea you're here. They're gonna be so surprised." And I was like, "You didn't tell them?" He's like, "No, it's gonna be hilarious. Trust me."
No!
So he gets them out of the car and they're walking up, and then he goes, "Hey, everybody, it's my friend Colin. Colin, what are you doing here? He's a comedian. Don't you have a show tonight?" And they're just like completely stunned that this is happening. They don't know what's going on. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm a comedian. I'm gonna be hanging out with you guys tonight. Algebra's crazy. What's going on with all this
Oh my
homework?"
god.
Like, I mean, at the time I was in my 20s, and they're all, 16,
Oh
17.
my
And they're also girls. So I'm like, this is like my worst. This is like what shock
God.
therapy, you know what I mean? Of
Yeah,
when I was in high school.
so
It's like,
funny.
what would you hate to do the most? Embarrass yourself in front of a bunch of high school girls? You're gonna do it. Um, and so I just followed them around while they took
Yeah,
pictures, and
wow.
I was like photobombing them. I mean, what he should have hired was a clown, a
Yeah,
birthday clown.
yeah.
But I followed them, and
Like,
then it ended. At one point, there was a photographer there, and he was taking pictures, and then the one of the moms, like, you get the light in comedy. There was no light, so I knew it was time to wrap up because one of the moms, I went to like do something while they were taking a picture, and she goes, "I think we've had enough of that." And I was like, "Okay," and I just sort of stood in the back, and because I had to get paid, and then the guy came over and he paid me, and he paid the photographer, and the photographer was just like, "Oh man, tough crowd." And I'm like, "Dude, crowd, it's
oh.
7 girls
Yeah,
in in gowns." The worst part is after that, I had to get back on the elevator with him, and we just rode the elevator back down silently. And then I went to my car, and it's a miracle that I didn't quit
wow.
after that.
That's so like I don't think I'm being dramatic. That might be the best like hell gig story I've ever heard ever. That's so good.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
I the dad obviously had good intentions, but that
right.
was that's so
Well, most people don't actually want comedy. Like when you get private these private shows and stuff. Like
yes.
I remember I did one on Valentine's Day, and it was like during this like dinner thing, and they
Uh-huh.
were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a stand up after like they're having dinner and drinks and music, and then we're gonna stop and we're gonna do stand up." I'm like, just have more music. Like
Yeah,
these
yeah,
people
yeah,
don't want to be told to be quiet. They don't want
exactly.
to have to sit down and pay attention. Like,
Yep.
you know, and everybody just thinks if you just are in a place and there's a
Yeah.
comedian there, you could have a show. And it's like
Yes. That's
there's
not
a
it.
lot of reasons that this thing works. Um,
That's so
yeah.
especially, like, I hate when people try to do comedy and music because
Mm,
it's like, "Hey, it's either that" I don't know, you have to be very forward about the comedy when in the marketing. Like,
yeah.
there was a gal in Omaha who she would hire me to, like, MC, like, punk shows or rap like, whatever, but then, she was wanting me to do, like, minutes of time in between.
Mm,
That was, like, very hard to do, also because I think I told a joke, a really bad, like, Fall Out Boy joke, and it offended everyone, got a boo. I was
sure.
like, "I think I'm done with this." But,
Yeah.
there was one show I did where it was she was wanting me to do time in between each bands, but it was, like, rap, rock, like, it was all these different genres, so all these different people who literally just came here to see the performer, not me. But, awful situation, and it was just like, I wish people that booked comedy understood that it's not always you can't just put
No.
it into everything. It has
You really it's not it doesn't pair well with other things. I mean, I've had
no.
to follow musicians, I've had to open for musicians. Following a musician is awful because it's like
Yeah,
it's very clear that this person is talented. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like you might not like the song, but if they
yeah,
can sing well and play the guitar well or the piano well, it's like this is working.
yes,
Comedy is so subjective that like
yes,
you could be a great comedian just not connect with that audience.
mhm.
And so you follow that. The worst is if you have to follow a comedy musician. If you
Oh my
cuz sometimes these people, and I don't know if there's any comedy musicians that listen to this, but we're on to you because what they'll do is they'll mask their humor with
yeah,
their ability to play an instrument. So you'll have these people that like even if a joke bombs, they'll just rip like on the piano or on the
yeah,
guitar, and everyone's just like, "Ah, that rocked!" And you're like, "Dude, that joke stunk." You were if you take that thing away, if you take that prop in front of you away,
my
this would
gosh.
bomb. And now I got to go out there with my notebook and try to pick up the pieces after you did a
Exactly.
parody of Private Eyes. It's like you're killing us back here. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, I'm laughing so hard because I read a show at we have a small like independent club down here at the back line. I read a show and I booked the headliner is a musical. He does musical comedy. His name's Jeffrey Eggleston. He's phenomenal. But
Yes, he's great.
I
I
booked
wasn't talking about him.
no, I was talking. I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
he's very good, but his voice is so insane. But yeah, I booked him to headline. I was like, "You're not gonna feature," because are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah. No, it's insane. It's a death sentence. You're better off just paying your openers more and going, just do whatever you want. We're gonna leave. Here's the keys to the building. We'll just lock up when you're done. You know.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love that. Oh, so good. That's so funny. Okay, sorry. I have pretty bad ADHD brain.
That's
Do you
okay.
play hockey?
Yeah, I do.
Let's go. Let's go. Are you a
Yeah.
Pens fan?
Big Penguins
Okay,
fan.
good.
Die hard.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
Love the Penguins. Actually, somewhere behind me over here is
I
Carl
see it. I
Hagelin
see it.
scoring the empty net goal,
Sick.
2016. I guess that would have been, or 17. I can't remember. But yeah, that's yeah,
That's
big
awesome.
Pens fan. Yeah.
Awesome. My brother plays. He's been playing hockey since he was like literally could skate.
Yeah.
He was very young, but now he plays for the teams. Like or the what is it? I don't know. He goes to high school. He plays whatever, and then whatever their traveling little thing is there. And I'm like, please.
Where did she go to high school?
Oh my god, this is such a good question. I actually don't know the name of it.
That's
I'm
good. You're close. So you're close. You two are close. Yeah. You guys pretty tight. Yeah. Okay. That's good. It's good to know.
no, yeah, we're very close relationship with my brother.
Yeah. You're like,
Um,
I think he's in school. I don't know. Okay.
so
That's
good.
fine. We can
That's
move on.
hilarious. No, I guess I just don't ask those questions, but those are important questions to know.
Those might
Those
like the
might
next time you talk to him, it might not be a bad idea to be like, where do you go to school? Like I've heard tell that you're in school. But where do you go to school? Yeah. I'd be really
Okay, before I sound
interested.
like the worst person ever,
Mm.
I'm just gonna briefly explain. My family's military, so were living like out, not there, like in everyone was all separated and out in Vegas or whatever, and so
Mhm.
he just moved like last summer from Vegas back to Pittsburgh, and is
Yeah.
going back to school up there. So it's still very recent for everyone, but still, regardless,
Okay.
know
It's
what high school.
okay. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'll talk to people sometimes. You know, it's
Oh
fine.
my
I don't
gosh.
care.
I
Yeah.
felt, that was really funny. I felt very called out in that moment, but it's okay.
No, it's okay. It's
It's
all
cool.
right.
I, uh I'm sorry, it's so hard for me when like, someone who's grown up in Pittsburgh, it's like I wanna go through the Rolodex of Pittsburgh things
Please.
and
I
just be
love
like,
it.
"You know that thing? Yeah!" And it's just
Of
that.
course. But I love that.
Same.
I am all about like owning your place. Like I
Yeah,
hate these
same.
people that are like,
God.
"Oh, I moved from whatever." I hate people. I cannot stand
Yeah.
people that live in New York now that come from like a smaller city or smaller town. They're like, it's so much better here. But I'm like, you're an idiot. You're
Yeah.
dumb. You know why it's not better? Because when I'm home, I park my car in a spot
Yeah.
and I don't have to move it again until I get back in that car. I when I go to the store, I
Yeah.
pull into a parking lot that's next to that store. I
Yeah.
don't have to like
Real.
like you know
Yeah.
park in a former like Best Buy parking lot where there's like
Yes.
a pit bull and that's like taking tickets and like like I mean it's insane. Anybody New York and it has a lot of great things, but
Yeah.
it's also like you can't deny the convenience and the ease of life and from these other cities. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's so I mean, I will say, as far as places to drive, Pittsburgh stresses me out, but it's
it's
because
hilly.
it's so and yeah, and it's just my aunts have gotten into so many car accidents and just
Yeah.
the vans that have been totaled. I get so much anxiety, and so I always, like, am making other people drive when I go there, or I'll just take the
It's
keys.
not for the faint of heart. None of these, but that's most cities like Pittsburgh is that
Yeah.
the charm of them is that there is sort of this constant fear that you could be killed by the elements. Winters, roads.
Yes.
Is that like deer running out?
Mhm.
There's sort of that's what's nice that makes you enjoy the good moments there even
Yes.
more as you go, we're probably going to get into a car accident when we leave here. You
Exactly.
know, we're doing 90 on a road that has no street lights, and there will be 4 turns,
Yeah.
unmarked. Yeah,
Yes.
I get it.
So tight.
It's
Also, like I remember, like when I lived there, it was I went to middle school and it was like the winters were rough, but we would drive from Kansasburg. I went to school in Bethel Park, and
oh
so
yes, familiar. Yeah.
I went to Hillcrest. I don't know if it was Hillcrest. It's called Hillcrest Christian Academy. My
Okay,
family forced religion down my throat. It's okay,
that's
but
okay. That's
we would
okay.
drive there, and I remember it was the most silent car ride, especially during the winter, because
Yeah,
the turns, the snow
it's
is like,
tense.
yeah,
Very tense.
keep it quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Pittsburgh winters are tough and the roads are tough,
Mhm.
because they're so windy and hilly. Like it's just
Yeah,
constant, like throw it into lower gear, first
yeah,
gear, second gear, neutral down a hill. I mean, I have the term "give it some gas," "give it some gas" ingrained in my head forever. Because there's my dog in the back. I
gosh. Okay,
It's my
sorry.
it's one
I
of my
love
dogs. No,
that's
it's
how your
okay.
dog.
That is my dog. It's one of my dogs, Louie, and my other dog Elmer's out in the living room.
Nice. You
Yeah, he
should.
comes and lays on the bed next to me.
I will say I did see him hop around in the back a while ago, but you were like mid in it, and I was like, I
Yeah,
won't bring it up.
and that's why you're professional. You know what I mean? That's why we do these things. It's. I appreciate that. Yeah, he has no respect. My dogs have no respect for what I'm doing at any
No,
moment.
no,
Zoom calls, podcasts, writing,
yeah,
they'll bark, they'll claw at me. They have zero respect
so
for what
good.
I trying to do for them, really.
Yeah,
Trying to
that's
give them a
you
good
said I'm
life.
trying to build a life for us.
For you, yeah, right. And you're interrupting constantly.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I need a dog badly, but I don't know. I gotta
Will
get
you
back.
have pets?
I don't. I have a roommate right now. I just actually moved back to Omaha. I was like 45 minutes away. I lived in Lincoln for a while, and
Yes,
then
gorgeous.
I started working for heart., which is the reason we get to do this cool podcast today. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I started working for them, and I just like fell in love with this place. I've always told myself though, like to round it. I'm like always every year I go, I'm going back to Pittsburgh. I'm going back to
You
Pittsburgh.
should go back. You should go back and do
I
some
know.
stand up. I think you
Maybe just
really
to
should.
visit. I want to like pack it up. I'm ready to pack it, but I can't now. I like my job too much. But I want to pack it
Yeah.
up.
I don't get this, like, unless you're moving somewhere because it's cheaper, like, and people are always like, "Oh," I remember when I moved to New York, my mom was like, "You're gonna be far," and I'm like, but also there's like planes,
Yeah,
and I have a car,
travel.
and it's like
True.
nothing is really that that far,
Yeah,
I
I'm just yeah.
I I mean, what is it? It takes me, if I fly to Pittsburgh, it's 45 minutes, 50 minutes. If I
That's
drive, it's
really
6 hours. It's
that's
really not
crazy.
that bad.
Wow.
Um, I don't, and I don't know. I always, anytime I have to get in the car and drive home, I'm always like, yeah, 6 hours is a lot, but it's also less than a work day. Like I'll start my drive
Yeah.
and get home before people have gone to work and not left yet, and I'll be
Yeah.
like, I'll get home and be like, "Was everyone doing anything?" Everyone's like, "We're still working." You know. Um. So, are you an Eaton Park fan? Do you remember Eaton Park?
Oh, yeah, big Eaton Park fan,
Love Eaton
like
Park.
the cookies, I feel like I don't know, I did have a bad run of, like, I felt like, they were getting stale for a while,
Sure.
but,
Sure. That's fair.
when you hit a fresh one, that was always really nice,
Yeah.
but yeah, I enjoyed that place a lot. I always think of, the Mac Miller song when he gives
Oh,
it.
of course.
It's
Yeah.
it's so iconic, you have to connect the 2. I wanted to go back to Pittsburgh this summer, I wanted to go to Kennywood, but I heard
Yeah.
Kennywood's shut down for the summer.
I don't know. I know that Kennywood changed hands a little bit.
I'm sad.
It's a little different. I I haven't been to Kennywood in a while. I'm pretty strongly against amusement parks, but
Wow.
yeah, I
Is there
would
ever
go.
trauma that you'd like to tell?
It's really there's no trauma except that like the fact that they're not really set up for fun.
Wow,
Like
this is an interesting take.
yeah, because there's this idea that amusement parks are fun, but
Sure.
like kind of everything about them is not fun. They usually
Oh,
happen in the summer, so you're hot, right?
true.
So like there's usually long lines to wait for things. Um, you're walking, you're tired, you're not really hydrating, the
Yeah.
food is makes you feel bad. Like
Yeah,
so it's all sort of set up and if you like things so like if you play a game, the game is
yeah,
expensive, God forbid you win the game, like because you think you get a prize, and the prize is just another thing that you have to lug around
yeah.
and
No,
you
yeah.
carry. And so if I go to Kennywood, like I'll be like I remember I took my sister to Kennywood a while back and we went like during the week, kind
Mhm.
of like as the season was ending or just beginning, and we went for like 4 hours. And I was like, this is how Kennywood should be done.
Yeah,
You
that's good.
go, there's no lines. You say we're riding these five things, we'll get one corn dog, and then we're getting out of here.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very strict. I will
Oh,
say
yeah.
I respect it, and I think maybe now I could actually get that, but when I was going, it was open to close, we're doing Kennywood.
Of course. Yeah.
It's you do we'd get the go to the fries stand where they have the fries with the whatever the thing
Yeah,
is.
the potato patch, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm well aware.
Yeah.
Spent many summers outside the potato patch. Yeah. Yeah.
I would just nearly go broke with my cousins because it was just like we would buy everything that we wanted.
Yeah, no,
It was really fun.
it's you're usually walking around with money in a Ziploc
Yeah,
bag or something because you don't want it to get wet. That's the other thing too. In
that's so
Kennywood, which
real.
I can't stand the water rides. I
Yeah,
used to ride the water rides as a kid. You
yeah,
get to like, I think I was like 12, and I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I don't want to be wet the rest of the day.
the
Like
chafing.
the chafing, the wet socks that you stink.
You do
If you people we because we did the same thing as kids, the school picnics were at Kennywood, so you would go
mhm,
first thing in the
yeah,
morning and you
yeah.
would leave. It was dark, you leave at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? But we get in the car and it smelled so bad. It was like a locker room. I mean, it stunk because of course it does. You're damp, you're
Yeah,
sweaty, you're covered in cheese sauce.
mhm.
It's not,
That's
God
so
bless my
funny.
parents for even wanting to be there, you know? And that's really too, like the parents have zero fun. Parents have
No,
zero fun at these things.
it's
Like,
just
cause
monitoring.
yeah, it's just like where'd they go? You go that like every group, every parent, every family unit breaks up. They're like, I'll take these kids that they're here. They're crying because they have to get on this, and then God forbid someone does not meet the height, the thing. They
Yeah,
have the height requirement that of this science, that these
uh,
teenagers of these rides that are hurtling to your death that these teenagers run. They determine very scientifically by a metal bar that swings like this. That if you stand on your tiptoes, you'll beat the system and potentially be thrown to your death.
yeah,
But like, you always have that one sibling that's like, I don't fit. And they're
yeah.
like, well, four of us are already in line for an hour. Someone's got to take this kid out of here, you know?
Exactly.
Um, did you ever do like the single rider? Were you ever a single rider at Kennywood?
Honestly, no. I don't think I ever got in that situation. It was always like, my family tried to make me they called it a ride warrior. So it was pretty much like traumatizing me to go on the rides I didn't want to because they're
Yeah,
like, we're getting our money's worth. If we're gonna pay to get you in here, you're gonna ride all the rides.
everything. Right.
Everything. Like I
I love
remember
that.
being at the top of Phantom's Revenge, like about to get on it and screaming, crying, and my my dad calls my grandma, and it's my grandma being like, "You're getting on that Phantom's Revenge."
Right. Yeah, no. That is such a Pittsburgh mentality of like, we spent the money to get in here. You will do everything there is to do so
Yeah.
we don't feel like we wasted a cent, you know? It's you they'll
Oh,
force you into a situation that you
yeah.
don't want to be in. Yeah. Of course.
Oh, that killed me. Because it started like we would so so I was before we had moved to Pittsburgh, I was actually born in Virginia, and that's my family, like my parents met in the military or whatever. And so we would go to Busch Gardens, and it was the same thing of, they would invest before even consulting me. They would invest in the season pass and then be like, now we have to do every single thing. And so now I have this mentality, like I'm an adult now and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can ride all the rides. But I mean, it was years of just screaming, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Get on the ride.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because once you're in line, you're kind of committed. No one's gonna get out of line. They
No.
feel like it's you have to get the return on your investment of time. It's like we're here, we waited. This is whether you like it or not, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And you're miserable. You're miserable when you get off.
And
You're
the rides I was always forced to like ride were rides that sounded like Phantom's Revenge, or like there was a ride at Busch Gardens called Big Bad Wolf that like they would always make it on, and I'm like,
it's insane. There was a ride at Kennywood called the Terminator.
Yeah.
Or the Exterminator. The Exterminator. And it was and it was like the ride was an extermination themed ride. That was the theme. Fun for the whole family. Just killing rats on a roller coaster. It's crazy.
That hole where the Exterminator is, I don't know, whatever that hole, all of those rides freak me out. All of those rides are stressful. Whatever that Pompeii, the big, that freaks me out as well.
Yep.
They're all scary.
Yeah, they're all pretty intense. That's where the Phantom's Revenge is back there.
Yeah.
It's they used to have the drop back there.
I did the drop when I was so young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Too much. It's too much for school children.
That was really fun. I forgot about all of those.
Now I'm sorry to make you relive that. But I think it's healthy. I think it's good to get it out, and that we're still here. I'm still here. You're still here.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So I will say we are kind of rounding down towards the end of our episode.
Yeah.
Obviously I was stalking you, spoiler alert, but it looks like you have a podcast as well that I think people should definitely go check out. It's called Hell Gigs, right?
Yeah. So I've taken a little hiatus, but all of the episodes are still up on my YouTube channel, where I talked to other comedians about their worst gigs.
Love that.
Because that was always my favorite thing to talk about. It was like, it's like the prom story. It's like most of the things you talk about with other comics are like bonding over negative stuff, and it's always like, I was just at that club, the MC, whatever, so yeah, you can check that out. And I just started a new project with a buddy of mine called Booth in the Back, where we go and have breakfast at a diner, and we just talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And
I love that.
Yeah, so we cut them up into little clips, and we have they're very digestible. They're like 5-minute episodes.
That's awesome. That's
on YouTube.
Yeah,
right now. So if you check out Booth in the Back, you can see what two people that probably should be in an institution think about over scrambled eggs.
I love that.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to tag the links to Booth in the Back and also the podcast.
Please.
This is the Dry Bar special you just put out. That's like your second one, right? That you've done.
So yeah, it's not like a mini special. It's 25 minutes. So that's on Dry Bar's website. The title is Cake for Breakfast. If you search Cake for Breakfast on Dry Bar, you can watch it. That you can use my name, Collin Chamberlin, to get it for free for they're like a subscription service, so you can watch it for free. If you use that, there's some stuff on YouTube that they put out, and on Instagram. And I like I said, I really like it. It's I think it's fun. And then I have a Don't Tell that's out on YouTube as well. So if people want to watch, everything is just chunks. It's just all chunks. If you just nobody really, I do have an hour special. I rarely promote it anymore, because when I tell people it's an hour, they're like, I don't know, when will I find the time? But yeah, I do technically have an hour special that's on my YouTube as well,
Amazing.
called Hello, It's Me.
Yes. Awesome. We'll put that in there as well in the description. And where can people find you on social media?
Oh God, you can find me at Collin_comedy, Collin with 2 L's comedy. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and what's the other one? X. I'm still on X.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't really
Holding it
do
down.
anything. I don't really do anything on X.
Yeah.
I go on and I go to the top and I refresh it twice and then I close it. And but yeah, technically I'm still on there. But I try to put everything, on Instagram and YouTube because that's where people want it. That's where they
Yep.
want to see it. So
That is
yeah.
true. That is true. Well, thank you so much for hopping on and talking with a stranger today. This was so much fun.
This was great. I had a great time, and this is now the second best comedy thing in Omaha. It's the
Let's
Funny
go.
Bone and then this podcast. So
Oh,
if you're
that's
in Omaha and you're not doing one of those two things, what the hell are you doing in Omaha? You know?
that's the new tagline for this podcast, actually.
Yeah. It's all yours. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right. We'll see you around.
See you. Thank you.